day and welcome to Alena Media TV. We are broadcasting from Toronto, Canada. I am Elsa Abraham, and in this episode we are bringing you African news. Here is your headlines. Egypt turns to Russia for help with desalination plant amid the Nile Dam crisis. Sudan also owns land where Ethiopia built dam, claims an ex-negotiator. And in our last story, clashes erupt at the Juba airport as Ethiopian peacekeepers are forced to return home. Let's go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll get our news in details. Stay with us. Welcome back from that short break. Now, Egypt is seeking to move forward in the implementation of new seawater desalination project in cooperation with the Russian Rosnano Group, which specializes in this field to fill the country's water deficit that exceeds 20 billion cubic meters per year amid the faltering negotiations on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the JERD. Three-party negotiations over the JERD continue to stall as the last round of talks held on January 10th failed to make any progress between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan. In a January 22nd statement, Abdel Monem Al-Teres, chairman of the Arab Organization for Industrialization, said that Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi directed the government to boost cooperation among the state's industrial and research institutions and exploit the national manufacturing capabilities to promote local manufacturing of water desalination plant equipment. Terra's statement came during a video conference held between the Rosnano Group and the University of Alexandria in Egypt in order to discuss cooperation in the field of seawater desalination. The two parties agreed during the talks to further discuss the establishment of a specialized factory in Egypt for the manufacture of seawater desalination membranes in partnership with the Russian side. They also agreed to localize this industry in order to reduce the price of a cubic meter of water and achieve added value for the national industry. President Alexandria University Abdelaziz Konsowa stressed during the meeting that the establishment of seawater desalination plants comes within the framework of the government's approach to seek non-traditional alternatives to water resources. Egypt suffers from a water deficit of up to 20 billion cubic meters annually. And Nam Said, head of the planning sector of the Egyptian Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, told Sky News Arabia on February 10th. She explained that 97% of Egypt's water resources comes from the Nile River, and Egypt's water needs reach 80 billion cubic meters annually. Osama Salam, a professor at the Governmental National Water Resources Center and water expert at the Environment Agency in Abu Dhabi, told Al Monitor that Egypt needs to develop its non-conventional water resources to meet the challenges of population growth, and one of the most important non-traditional resources in seawater desalination. He explained that the population growth over the next 20 years requires an additional 5 billion cubic meters of drinking water, Salam said. Egypt is in need of additional water resources to meet its current and expected future water deficits, be it to meet the needs of a growing population or for any external reasons, including the JERD. It would be a great achievement if it can manage to desalinate seawater to cater for the needs of the coastal governorates and cover the future demand for drinking water. He added that working to localize the seawater desalination industry in cooperation with the Russian side during such times is very important as far as owning and developing these technologies is concerned, because such projects help Egypt secure its water needs. However, He said the desalination cost is still high and the use of desalinated water will be strictly limited to meeting the drinking and domestic use needs. In the event of a decrease in the cost of desalination in the future, the use of water in agriculture may be extended to some types of crops that need little water and are of high economic value. He said that he believes that the development of non-traditional water resources, including the desalination, is very important to face the water challenge in general. Alam also stressed that Egypt relies on its historical share of the Nile water to meet its various needs in all fields and will continue to commit to the negotiation track on the Djed crisis to obtain its rights. However, he believes that the Egyptian water desalination projects are not directly linked to the stalling of the Djed negotiations. Haman Oman, head of the drinking water sector in the South Sinai Governorate, said in a February 15 statement that 2 seawater desalination plants are to be built within 2 years to offer a permanent solution to the drinking water crisis in the tourist city of the Sharm el-Sheikh. Having a growing population poses a big problem for the Egyptian government, which is trying to find alternative ways to meet the Egyptian water needs, Sharaki said. During the past years, Egypt will desalinate about 100 million cubic meters of water per year, but the desalination plants in the Sinai Peninsula, Massa, Matir, and on the Red Sea are currently producing 400 million cubic meters per year. The government is aiming for 1 billion cubic meters of desalinated water by 2030. Asked about the currently stalled Djed negotiations, Sharaki noted that Egypt wants to reach an agreement with Ethiopia and Sudan, be it through the African Union or through external mediation, but having negotiations go on like this is only a waste of time. If the crisis is not resolved within the coming months, we must resort to the UN Security Council. Moving on to our second story for today, Sudan owns lands where Ethiopia built the dam, claims by ex-negotiator. A former member of Sudan's negotiating team, which worked with Ethiopia on issues relating to the controversial Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the Djed on the River Nile, has raised eyebrows by claiming that Sudan owns the land on which the dam is built. Dr. Ahmed Al-Mufti told the Saudi-owned Al Arabiya satellite channel on Saturday night that his country granted the land to Ethiopia in 1902 on the condition that Addis Ababa would not establish any water infrastructure without Khartoum's approval. In his interview on the program, Al-Bond Al-Aka, The Other Dimension, Al-Mufti added that Sudan could ask for the land to be returned to Sudanese sovereignty. He called on the UN Security Council to intervene to stop Ethiopia from filling the second reservoir of the dam in July. The former negotiator also warned that more than 20 million Sudanese people are in danger as a result of the Djed. Ethiopia lies upstream of Sudan on the Nile. It claims that the Djed is important for the country's development, but the river's two downstream countries, Sudan and Egypt, argue that it poses a major threat because it will reduce their historical quotas of water from the river upon which both rely so much. And in our last story for today, clashes erupt at Juba airport as Ethiopian peacekeepers are forced to return home. Fist fighting has erupted among Ethiopian troops serving in South Sudan as part of the United Nations peacekeeping mission in the world's youngest country after a forced return to Ethiopia, where most peacekeepers fears that government brutality was met with resistance. Several well-informed South Sudan government sources with direct knowledge have told Sudan's Post this evening. There was a fist fight this afternoon. A good number of the Ethiopian forces working at the United Nations mission in South Sudan as peacekeepers are being forced to return home. They are mainly from Tigray region and they resisted, and this has caused a fist fight because those who refused were beaten, the government security source at Juba International Airport said. Another senior Juba Airport staffer confirmed that the fist fight and said there were no danger as all of the peacekeepers were not carrying their guns when the fist fights broke out, saying that heavily mounted security vehicles have been deployed at the airport. As I speak to you, there is a heavy presence of National Security Service and police forces at the Juba airport, the official said on condition of anonymity. They were being forced to return home because most of the peacekeepers have concerns to their safety once they arrive in Ethiopia, and I am talking about those from the Tigray region. Phone calls to South Sudan government spokesman Michael Makari and the army spokesman who were not responded. Police spokesman Major General Daniel Justin said that he won't comment until I find out what is being said to have taken place, while I haven't heard anything about it. Otherwise, I can direct you to the Ethiopian embassy because it is their business, he said. The latest development is, however, contrary to what was wrote a few hours ago by some outlets in Juba that there was gunfire at Juba airport, attributing it to violence among Ethiopian troops serving under the United Nations peacekeeping mission. South Sudan News Now, a subsidiary of the online blog of Nyamilepedia, had reported that fighting broke out this afternoon at Juba International Airport. The GIA between the Ethiopia's government forces and Tigray forces serving under the United Nations mission in Sudan, the UNAMIS. The UNHCR distanced itself from the story. Earlier on Monday, an anonymous source who said he is an UNHCR staff said in an interview with a Sudan's Post reporter that some of the Ethiopian peacekeepers involved in the airport fistfight have already been transported to the reception center for registration as asylum seekers. The UNHCR spokesperson in South Sudan said in an email to Sudan's Post that no member of the UNHCR team spoke to a journalist on the situation, but could not deny or confirm if the UNHCR has involved to help in the protection of the soldiers. This is where we end today's episode on African News. Make sure you like, share, comment. Let us know your thoughts on this particular episode. Thanks for watching.